Hey guys, YouTuber Untitled here. Alright, and I would figure I would kick off the new year by making my first video of the year, or another retro wrestling review. And so, yeah, I decided to review Judgment Day 2002. So, this is, like, some people have looked at this to be probably the best Judgment Day pay-per-view of all time. And is it the best? Well, I guess it is one of the best. I mean, yeah, historically, like, the Judgment Day pay-per-view really was not really that good of a pay-per-view. But, I mean, there were, like, some good Judgment Day pay-per-views. I mean, there were a few, like, especially, like, during its, last few years in existence. The, the Judgment Day pay-per-view, I think, was, like, getting, like, better overall. Well, but yeah, just historically, like, Judgment Day really was just not that very good of a pay-per-view. But, yeah, I would say that this is probably one of the better ones. Sorry, just a second. Sorry. Yeah, just had to plug in, like, charger to my laptop. So, yeah, I'd say that overall, this was a pretty good show overall. I mean, I'm not sure if I can say it is a great show, but it is still a pretty good one. I mean, for the most part, like, the show just about, like, was pretty good through, like, most of it. Like, until, like, probably, like, the, like, last two matches of the show. I think, say the show, like, really was very well paced, and it really did, like, deliver. I think that, like, most of the show overall did turn out being pretty good. Yeah, if the last two matches really, like, did, like, not, like, really, like, slow the pace of the show down, really just, really, like, kind of, like, just, like, tone it down, really, and it really did, like, mess up. I really did think that this probably could have been a really great show, but as is, I do think that this was a pretty good show overall. I mean, yeah, there were, like, some good matches. I mean, a lot of the matches on here, especially, like, with the undercard matches really were, like, pretty short overall, so, yeah, I give them credit that they really did it like that, where they really didn't, like, drag all the matches out. Like, they really did, like, really just skim through, like, the undercard matches, like, really good. And so, yeah, really, like, a lot of the matches on the show really were, like, pretty short overall. I mean, there was only, like, one match that really did go over, like, 20 minutes. So, yeah, I really, like, much of the card on here was, like, pretty short. But, yeah, for the most part, like, the matches overall, they were, like, still, like, pretty good overall. So I'd say that this show did, like, did turn out being a success. And yeah, this was also, like, the very first ever WWE pay-per-view. This was the first pay-per-view, like, after the name change. I remember, like, the poster was made before the name change, so yeah, the poster for the show actually did still have the WWF logo on it, but yeah, they did, like, end up, like, the name change then happened, so yeah, this turned out being, like, the first actual WWE pay-per-view also, so yeah, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, overall, a pretty good show. Like, the card, like, did, like, deliver for the most part. Alright, so yeah, let me just talk about the card real quick. I'm really just gonna, like, skim through the first few matches, because there's one match on here that I really did, like, want to, like, talk a little bit about. Because, yeah, I just did have, like, quite the number of things to say about one of the matches on this card, so yeah, I'm probably just gonna skim through the first few matches pretty quickly. Alright, but yeah, anyway, let me just talk about the card. Alright, so the show kicked off with the Intercontinental title on the line, Eddie Guerrero defending against Rob Van Dam. And, yeah, this was a pretty good match overall. I mean, it definitely is, like, probably not, like, the best that these two guys can do. They probably, definitely do, like, have a lot better ability than this. But, yeah, this turned out being a pretty good match overall. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty good back-and-forth match. I mean, nothing like that memorable happened, but, yeah, it was, like, good, entertaining back-and-forth action between the two of them. And, yeah, there was, like, a few, like, reversals and stuff in this match and some counters. And, yeah, at the end, like, RVD, like, attempted a backslide on Eddie Guerrero, but Eddie Guerrero like countered it, and then Eddie Guerrero then had a backslide on RVD, and then Eddie Guerrero like also had his feet on the ropes, and then Eddie Guerrero pinned RVD, and then yeah, Eddie Guerrero won and retained the title. So yeah, I guess it was a pretty good opener overall. I mean, these guys definitely do like have like much better ability than this. Of course, like the ladder match they would have a couple of weeks later like was like much better than this, but yeah, this was still a pretty good match overall. I give it 3.5 stars. And then next up, the Women's Championship was on the line with Trish Stratus defending against Stacy Keibler. And in this match, you had Bubba Ray Dudley in Trish's corner, and you also had Devon this was when he had like the Reverend Devon gimmick, along with Deacon Batista in Stacy's corner. And yeah, this really wasn't like really that good. I mean, yeah, it really was like just yeah, it was a Divas match, so I guess like there was nothing really much to expect from here. And but yeah, thankfully like the match really didn't go on too long. Yeah, at one point like as like Stacy like on the outside and like she ended up like slapping Bubba in the face, and like Bubba was like really like coming towards Stacy, and then yeah, but then the referee was like just like busy with Bubba telling him not to get involved in. Then like Batista ended up like attacking Trish, but yeah, Trish like that didn't finish Trish off, and then yeah, as like then as Bubba was like fighting with Batista, like then like that then allowed like Trish then to like hit like a bulldog I think on Stacy, and then yeah, Trish ended up getting the win, and then yeah, Trish ended up retaining, and then afterwards, then yeah, Devon and Batista ended up like attacking Bubba, and yeah, they put him through a table and stuff. So yeah, really not a very good match. It really was like pretty bad, but yeah, thankfully it didn't last too long. It was only about 3 minutes, so yeah, not really too much to complain about. Like yeah, it served its purpose, I guess, and it didn't like drag on. So yeah, I'd just give it like half a star. And next up we had the Hardy Boys versus Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. And yeah, I guess this was just fine. I mean, I guess like this was just like it just served its purpose. I mean, and yeah, it was basically fought mostly as like a handicap match with Brock Lesnar against the Hardys. Paul Heyman was just like on the apron. I'm not sure why Paul Heyman really like did put himself in the match or anything, but yeah, it's just fine. Yeah, and yeah, like I said, this was mostly just Brock Lesnar versus the Hardy Boys, and yeah, Brock Lesnar was like going at it with the Hardy Boys, and yeah, the Hardy Boys were like holding their own against Brock Lesnar. It was seeming like the Hardy Boys could have won this. And then at one point, once like the Hardy Boys beat Brock Lesnar to the outside of the ring, they then went after Paul Heyman, and then they started to attack him. But then yeah, eventually then like Brock Lesnar ended up like coming back, and then he laid out the Hardy Boys, and then he like gave Jeff Hardy an F5, and then Paul Heyman wanted to be tagged in, and then yeah, Brock Lesnar tagged Paul Heyman in, and Paul Heyman got the pin on Jeff Hardy, and so yeah, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman got the win. So yeah, it really, I guess it served its purpose. I mean, it wasn't like great or anything, but it wasn't terrible. I guess it was just fine. Like it served its purpose. I give it like I don't know, 2.25. Yeah, and also like there's during a period in the show, like something I just want to talk about real quick. Yeah, there was like a thing with like Booker T. Like there was a like in the back, like Booker T was like being interviewed because yeah, the previous Raw before this was when he was named the newest member of the NWO, and as Booker T was being interviewed, he then like spotted this woman, and he was like flirting with her and stuff, and then you know the woman like gave Booker T like a key to her hotel room and stuff, and then later on like Booker T like was in the hotel room with the lady, and then like they were starting to make out in the hotel room in the dark, but then yeah, Goldust's voice was then heard, and then yeah, it was like revealed that it was just all like something Goldust had planned and stuff. So I thought it was like funny, well, particularly like the thing in the hotel room with Goldust being in the bed with Booker T and the lady. So yeah, I guess like it was a funny thing that went on with like just more stuff with Booker T and Goldust. So yeah, funny stuff. Yeah. All right, and then next up, this is the match that I really wanted to talk about. This next up, we had a handicap match with Stone Cold versus Ric Flair and The Big Show. And really, I mean, the way this match was put up, it just like seemed like what in the world was it? Because yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not really hard to see like why like Stone Cold like ended up like walking out a couple of weeks later, and So yeah, because yeah, this whole thing, this was just like really like dumb, and it was boring, and it just really wasn't good. And yeah, it's really not hard to see like why Stone Cold really was feeling the way he was, why he walked out a couple of weeks later. Because yeah, the storyline for this was like there was some like tension going on between Stone Cold and Ric Flair, because yeah, this really like started after like Ric Flair did sign Stone Cold to Raw, and Stone Cold stunned him, and then yeah, Stone Cold just was then like not happy that like at Backlash the previous month, like Ric Flair, like he felt Ric Flair screwed him because Ric Flair was refereeing that match between Stone Cold and Undertaker, and then Undertaker like pinned Stone Cold, and Stone Cold's foot was on the ropes, and Ric Flair still made the count, but he didn't see it. And then yeah, it just like was like all this stuff going on, and like Ric Flair was saying that he could see like how Vince McMahon really, what Vince McMahon really was going through, like during the whole Attitude Era stuff with like Stone Cold and him. Yeah, and then like I don't really know like why Big Show got like tied into this stuff, because yeah, it just had this thing with like Big Show just like randomly joining the NWO and chokeslamming Stone Cold, and yeah, then like Big Show was just saying that he just like was kind of like not happy with the position he was in, because since Stone Cold was there, like Big Show was saying that like he was in the main event of WrestleMania like 2 years before when Stone Cold was out hurt, and now here, like with Stone Cold, when Stone Cold was back at WrestleMania, and Big Show was just in WWF New York for WrestleMania. But I mean, why was Big Show just like going after Stone Cold because of that? I mean, the same thing was like with Undertaker. Like Undertaker was hurt those couple of years before when Big Show was main eventing WrestleMania. At the same time, Stone Cold was hurt, and then yeah, Undertaker was then back. So yeah, I just really like this really didn't make any sense like why Big Show got tied into this whole thing. So yeah, this thing was just like really like put together like very randomly, and just really didn't make a lot of sense. Like, how was this whole thing like going on? Like, what was up with this? Like, this whole thing was like really just kind of confusing, and really just didn't make a lot of sense. So, but anyway, yeah, and then yeah, there was this match with Stone Cold against Ric Flair and Big Show, and yeah, I guess this was like an okay match, but yeah, it really was like yeah, this thing was like kind of like dragged down. I think it was like since Big Show was in it, like Big Show really shouldn't have gotten involved with this, and this I think this really should have just been stuck to Stone Cold and Ric Flair. But yeah, this was like an alright match. I mean, it started off like good. I did like when the match started off. Like the match started like the first couple of minutes was just Stone Cold like beating up both Ric Flair and Big Show, and just Stone Cold was just on offense for the first couple of minutes of the match, and Ric Flair and Big Show got no offense, and Stone Cold was just like beating up the two of them, and yeah, he was just like holding his own against Big Show and Ric Flair, and I thought it was funny, like during that first couple of minutes, Stone Cold at one point like had Ric Flair in the figure four, and Stone Cold actually shouted "woo," yeah. But then yeah, after that, then it was just like it kind of did like was pretty toned down. Like it really was like not really anything that spectacular, and it really was like just felt really toned down, and just yeah, it just really wasn't like that well paced, and it was just like really slow, and it got boring and stuff, and you know, like Big Show and Ric Flair were just like really like teaming up on Stone Cold old and stuff, and yeah, eventually like Stone Cold then like ended up making a comeback, and Stone Cold like countered a figure four on the Ric Flair, and yeah, but Big Show ended up breaking it up, and then when Stone Cold had the figure four on Ric Flair again, Big Show broke it up again, yeah. And then when Stone Cold was starting to make a comeback, then like X-Pac then just came down to ringside, and then yeah, then like Stone Cold then hit a stunner on Big Show, but nothing happened. And then Stone Cold tried to go for a second stunner, but then X-Pac came in, and he was trying to kick Stone Cold, but then Stone Cold moved out of the way, and X-Pac ended up kicking Big Show. And then Stone Cold hit a stunner on X-Pac, and then a stunner on Ric Flair. And then yeah, Stone Cold pinned Ric Flair and got the win. So yeah, really just yeah, like I said, this storyline was just like really confusing and didn't make much sense, and yeah, the match was just like kind of like decent. I mean, yeah, it started off well, but then afterwards it just like really got really toned down. So yeah, I would give this like a, I don't know, 2.5 stars. Yeah. And then next up we have the match of the night with Kurt Angle versus Edge in a hair versus hair match. And this was a great match right here. I mean, yeah, these guys just really did work well together. And yeah, this was just like an awesome match, really. I mean, yeah, Lundrick has said that this is really one of the most underrated feuds, as well as the most underrated in-ring chemistries ever. And I think he may be right. Like, I think Kurt Angle and Edge's matches get really overlooked, and this is the prime example of it. These two, like, really had a great match here. I mean, yeah, there was just great back and forth action between the two. There were, like, a lot of high spots. There's like reversals in here. I did like early in the match, like Edge had Kurt Angle like tied up in the ropes, and he hit a spear on Kurt Angle, and then like Edge tried to go for it again, but then like Kurt Angle then just countered it into a belly-to-belly suplex on Edge over the top rope down to the floor. So I like that. And yeah, there was just like some great in-ring action here, just a really great back and forth match. And at one point, like as Edge was on the top turnbuckle, Kurt Angle like tried to run at Edge and belly-to-belly suplexed him in the ring, but Edge countered it and just threw Angle back down. Yeah. And then, yeah, at one point, like, not Kurt Angle, Edge tried to spear Kurt Angle again, but Kurt Angle ended up, like, dodging the spear, and Edge ended up accidentally hitting the referee. And then, yeah, Angle then, like, at one point hit a German suplex on Edge, and then he tried to hit Edge with a steel chair, but Edge ended up ducking, and then, yeah, Edge then, like, hit 2 spears on Kurt Angle, and looked like that may have been it, but Kurt Angle survived it. And, yeah, then Kurt Angle at one point then, like, hit Edge with the Angle Slam, but Edge survived that. Yeah. And then finally, like, Kurt Angle then, like, had Edge in the ankle lock, but then Edge countered it. Like, he kicked Kurt Angle off, and Kurt Angle bounced off the ropes, and then Kurt Angle just fell into a small package by Edge, and then Edge got the pin. And then, yeah, Edge won the match. So, yeah, this was just a really great match. And then, yeah, like, afterwards, like, of course, like, with Kurt Angle losing the match, he would get his head shaved bald. And, yeah, at first, like, right after the match, like, Edge tried to, like, beat Kurt Angle back to the barber's chair, but then, like, Kurt Angle just ended up, like, running away from it. And then, yeah, throughout the night, then, like, Edge was just, like, chasing Kurt Angle in the back, trying to get him back to the barber's chair. And then, eventually, like, before the main event, then, like, Kurt Angle and Edge were fighting again, and then they fought, like, back to the entranceway, and then, yeah, Kurt Angle was, like, gonna, like, try to cut Edge's hair, but then Edge ended up fighting off Kurt Angle, and then knocked Kurt Angle out with a sleeper, and then, yeah, Edge ended up, like, shaving Kurt Angle's head bald. So, yeah, that was the beginning of bald Kurt Angle, and stuff. So, yeah, that was a funny segment, seeing, like, Kurt Angle get his head shaved bald, and, yeah, it was a really great match. I give it 4.5 stars. Great match of the night. And then next up was Chris Jericho versus Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match. Now, yeah, everyone has really said, like, this feud really did not need a Hell in a Cell. I don't think that they really did hate each other enough to really face each other inside a Hell in a Cell. But, yeah, this was still, like, a pretty great match. I mean, it was definitely, like, a lot better than their WrestleMania 18 match. Actually, yeah, there was, like, a lot of weapon use in this match with, like, ladders and a chair and steel steps. Yeah, it was just like, well, yeah, and of course, like, the cell was used as a weapon as well. And, you know, a lot of weapon use. Both guys got bloody in the match, yeah. And then, yeah, at one point, like, as Chris Jericho was, like, charging at Triple H accidentally threw Chris Jericho into the referee, Tim White, and, yeah, Tim White ended up, like, hitting the cell face first, and then, yeah, this, of course, was, like, Tim White's last match as a referee. Yeah, then, yeah, afterwards, like, as Chris Jericho, like, had attempted to pin Triple H to win, like, Tim White was still knocked out, and Chris Jericho assaulted Tim White some more, yeah. And then, yeah, the referees, like, then, like, broke into the cell to come to the aid of Tim White. Yeah, I did like how this, like, did kind of, like, play off of, like, the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match in a way, with, like, how they were able to, like, get Chris Jericho and Triple H to fight on the outside of the cell the same way like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels did in the first one, where they had to get the cameraman out of the cell that Shawn Michaels accidentally, like, hurt in the first Hell in a Cell, and it was the case here too with Tim White. So I did like how they kind of homaged the Undertaker Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell that way. Yeah, and then eventually, yeah, then like Chris Jericho and Triple H then were just like fighting on the outside of the cell. Hell, yeah. And then like Chris Jericho, or was it Triple H? Yeah, Triple H, like, at one point, I think, like, pedigreed, or was it a DDT? It was something. And, yeah, at some point, like, Triple H then, like, hit a DDT on Chris Jericho. Yeah, it was a DDT through the announce table. Yeah. And then Triple H then eventually, like grabbed a 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire to go after Chris Jericho, and then it then like spilled to the top of the cell, and the two of them were battling there. Yeah, and then yeah, Chris Jericho like got Triple H in the walls of Jericho on top of the cell, but Triple H then like fought out of it. Yeah, and yeah, they just continued to fight. Like Triple H like tried to pedigree Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho reversed, and yeah, Triple H just landed like right on the cell roof. Yeah. And then eventually, he like Triple H then hit Chris Jericho with the barbed wire 2x4 again, and then hit a pedigree on Chris Jericho, and then yeah, Triple H then pinned Chris Jericho on top of the cell to get the win. So yeah, and I think that this is still like the only time that there's ever been a pinfall on top of the cell in a Hell in a Cell. So yeah, I do like that about the match. And so yeah, it was a pretty great match, even though like the Hell in a Cell really was like totally unnecessary for this feud. It was still like a great match. Not as great as the Kurt Angle versus Edge match, but yeah, still a great match nonetheless. I give it 4 stars. Like it was still a great match. And then next up, the tag team titles were on the line. It was Billy and Chuck defending against Rikishi, and a tag team partner of Vince McMahon's choosing for Rikishi. And the tag team partner, of course, ended up like being Rico, Billy and Chuck's manager. And so yeah, of course, like this match like ended up, of course, being like fought as a handicap match really, with like Rico, like of course like avoiding Rikishi really, and like so Rikishi wasn't able to tag in Rico, and so yeah, Billy and Chuck really were like just doing everything they could to Rikishi here, and yeah, it really wasn't like that good really, but I mean it was only 4 minutes, so yeah, it really was like a yeah, not really good, but I guess like it served its purpose. I guess I don't think people really were expecting much from this. Yeah, and yeah, Billy and Chuck were just like getting the upper hand on Rikishi for most of this match, and then at one point, like as Rikishi was like in the upper hand, like Rico tried to get involved and attack Rikishi, but yeah, Rikishi like ended up ducking one of Rico's kicks, and Rico accidentally hit Chuck, and then Rikishi laid out Rico, and then Rikishi pinned Chuck and got the win. So yeah, Rikishi and Rico ended up becoming the tag team champions. So yeah, but of course like that didn't last long. I think like Billy and Chuck ended up regaining the titles just a few weeks later. So yeah, that didn't last very long. But and yeah, this match it really wasn't that good, but I mean it served its purpose, I guess. I give it a star and a half. I mean, yeah, not good, but yeah, not really like anything that big of a deal about. So yeah, it was just fine, even though it really wasn't very good. Yeah, and then like I said, then after this we had like Kurt Angle finally getting his head shaved and stuff. Yeah, and then we got the main event for the Undisputed Championship: Hulk Hogan defending against Undertaker. So yeah, a lot of people really have just bashed this match, really saying that it really wasn't very good, and it was a pretty big letdown. And well, yeah, I would agree to an extent. Like it really turned out being kind of a letdown. I think that this match is kind of better than people really do talk about it, because I really actually did think that this was like a not really like a good match or anything, but I didn't think it was horrible. Like I did think that this was entertaining in spots. But I mean, yeah, I've heard like in Lundrick's review, he said that this match was actually like, despite the fact that it wasn't good, it was like actually better than both of their 1991 matches, which is a load of nonsense, really. I mean, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The 2 matches that they had in 1981 at Survivor Series and Tuesday in Texas, those were great matches, and those were really the best matches of Undertaker's career at that point. I think maybe like I said when I reviewed Tuesday in Texas, people just really didn't understand the stories for those matches. But yeah, the story for this really was like totally different, and yeah, the story really was not anywhere as good as the 1991 matches. And yeah, the match really wasn't anything that spectacular, but I was actually entertained by it in spots. Like Hulk Hogan actually was like trying to be really athletic in this match. Like at one point he threw Undertaker over his head, and he actually hit a superplex on Undertaker. So yeah, Hulk Hogan was really trying to be like pretty athletic in this match. Yeah, but yeah, of course, like the match really was pretty short. It was only like 11 minutes, and yeah, in this match, like Undertaker was like targeting Hulk Hogan's knee in the match, and Hulk Hogan really was just like no selling all the damage to his knee. So I guess I can understand like some people's complaints about the match, like especially when they're talking about that. And yeah, and when Undertaker went on offense, like Hulk Hogan really wasn't like really selling the damage like that well and stuff. But yeah, it was actually like some decent back and forth action between the two. Like it wasn't like completely boring, yeah. But yeah, Undertaker like hit a couple of choke slams on Hulk Hogan. But yeah, they really didn't look very good. And eventually, like Hulk Hogan then like ended up like hulking up and hit Undertaker with the big boot and the leg drop, and Undertaker ended up surviving it. And then yeah, then like Vince McMahon then came down and stuff. And when Hulk Hogan actually did have the match won, like Vince McMahon was distracting the referee, and then Hulk Hogan then ended up laying out Vince McMahon. But then, yeah, Undertaker then, as the referee was distracted with Vince McMahon, then Undertaker then hit Hulk Hogan in with a chair in the back, and then chokeslammed Hulk Hogan and pinned him, and so Undertaker got the win, and Undertaker became the Undisputed Champion. And yeah, this just like really upset me as a kid, and it even still does kind of upset me now. I mean, I just really was like so upset with the fact that Hulk Hogan like had been gone for like 10 years from the company, and like his comeback was completed with him becoming the champion again, only for him to hold the title for a month. And I had the same problem with like Triple H's title reign. Like he came back after his 8-month injury, and he became the champion just for him to lose it a month later. But I mean, it was the Hulk Hogan who also had the comeback, so I guess it was the right move for Hulk Hogan to win. But yeah, I still like wasn't happy with Hulk Hogan. Just like all that time he was gone, returning and finally becoming the champion again, just still hold the title for 1 month. So yeah, I was just like really upset by that, and so yeah, I really didn't like that. And yeah, that did kind of like really does like kind of like make me like feel like kind of lower about the match than I did before just with the in-ring action and stuff. But yeah, it's really like just personal taste really. But yeah, like I said, it's really like not a good match, but I think it is better than people give it credit for. Like it's not a terrible match at all. Like it was like entertaining in parts. So yeah, I give it like a 2 stars. Like not good, but not horrible. So yeah, it is better than people give it credit for. So yeah, overall the show, I give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Like I don't know, like there are probably like some other Judgment Day previews that really are better, especially like in the later years of it. Like it got better in its later years, like I said earlier. But yeah, yeah, it probably is just like yeah, it's just historically not a good pay per view, and this is probably like one of the better ones. And yeah, I had some like really good matches on here, especially like with the hair versus hair and the Hell in a Cell match, and yes, like a few other good matches on the show too. So overall, like an entertaining show for the most part, even though like the last 2 matches did kind of like toned it down. Um, I mean, the show overall, it was like really well paced and pretty enjoyable overall. So yeah, would I recommend the show? Uh, yeah, I probably would recommend it if you can look past some like there were like some bad things on it, but yeah, the good like I would say triumphs over the bad. So yeah, I'll recommend it, Joe. I would say. All right, so yeah, that does for our review of Judgment Day 2002. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.